أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين يا رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all of you are doing well and are ready to move on to the next concept in our journey to learn Arabic, inshallah. Before we begin, of course, we are going to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us and to put His barakah in it. So, Rabbi Yasir, wala tu'assir, wa tammim bil khair. My Rabb, make it easy and do not make it difficult, and let it be completed in the best of manner. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Alright, so for the past few days, we have been studying al, which is the Arabic equivalent of English article the, and we have been studying it for some time now. We know that what are its implications, what are some of the important things that we need to take care of when using al. And in this lesson, I have summarized 8 important points, or rather, which is the entire list of the important points that we need to take care of while using al. Okay, so let's proceed with it, inshallah. Okay, so let's begin reading through it, and we'll see what's the stuff that we already know about it. So first rule, drop the tanween when adding al. Alright, we know this thing. Okay, so kitabun becomes al kitabu, kitaban becomes al kitaba, and kitabin becomes al kitabi. Okay, so the ending unsound is replaced by the ending na sound is replaced by the single harakat of the same Arab. Okay, so we know this point already. Okay, next point. Omit the ATA. Now, ATA is the after tanween alif or post tanween alif that as I like to call it. So in the nasab form, we omit the post tanween alif when adding al. All right. So this is simply saying that if I have waladan, okay, so this is the post tanween alif. This simply means that I have to omit this alif, and when I say al walada, okay, in this case this post tanween alif gets omitted. Okay, so we know this point as well. Okay, next point. Add the kasra, also known as zir, in the jar form of ghair munsarif asma when adding al. Alright, now we haven't covered this thing. Okay, so we'll need to come back to it later. Okay, which we will do in this very lesson, inshallah. Alright, then proceed to the next rule, which is silent hamzatul wasl when connecting its noun to the word before it. Okay, so the hamzatul wasl, which is this, it gets silent when it is connected to the noun, to the word before it. Okay, so this is the same as zalikal kitabu. Okay, so we have zalikal. In fact, our last lesson was about it, and we had studied some examples related to this. So it becomes zalikal kitabu. Okay, and over here this hamzatul wasl has been silenced because it needs to be connected to the word behind it. Okay, so this is rule number 4 that we know already. Okay, now the next point is this rule, which is the silent lam of al, which is silent lam tarif of al when prefixed with shamsi letters. Okay, so what were the shamsi letters? Anything that is not included in the acronym of haq, ka, khaf, ajab, gham hai. Okay, so any letter that is not included in this acronym is a shamsi letter. And what do shamsi letters do? They kill off the sound of this lam tarif, therefore the lam becomes silent. Okay, so we know this rule as well. Next is lam tarif of al is not silenced when prefixed with a qamari letter. What's a qamari letter? All the letters that are included in the acronym of haq ka khauf ajab qam hai are qamari letters. Okay, so and what do these letters do? They let the l sound of lam tarif to to exist. It doesn't get silenced. So for example, here the example would be ashamsu, simple, right? So we have sha, and that has silenced the lam tarif. Okay, and then we have qamri letter. So al qamru. Okay, so this qaf has not silenced the lam tarif, and therefore it's pronounced as al qamru instead of aqamru. Okay, that would have been really hard to say. So remember, ease of speech and fluency of speech is really important when it comes to Arabic, especially, and that is because a lot of grammatical laws have been devised to facilitate this. Okay, this is not this is not observed very frequently in English and other languages, but in Arabic this thing has been taken into account to a great deal. Okay, so our next point is rule number 7, which is saying that adding al to ism alam is not allowed unless the Arabs said so. Okay, we do not know what ism alam is. Okay, so we'll need to cover this in order to understand this rule. And the next rule is the context tells us if the reference is being made about the entire species of the noun or one individual being. Okay, this thing needs more elaboration because we haven't touched on this point either. So we've got 3 points that we need to study now. Okay, and inshallah in this lesson that's what we're going to cover. So let's begin. All right, so we are going backwards. Okay, so we have rule number 8, which says the context tells us if the reference is being made about the entire species of the noun or one individual being. Okay, what is this thing about? Let's discuss it. Okay, all right, so reference to an individual or the entire body or species as a whole. What does it mean? Okay, let's learn it with an example. So in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah tells us about that time when the Bani Israel were told by Hazrat Musa to slaughter a cow, right? So at that time, what did they understand, or how did they know that it was talking about slaughtering of only one special cow, or was it all the cows in general? Okay, so this is what this point means, that when you prefix this al with an ism, that ism that may allude to either one individual, for example one cow, because they were told, the Bani Israel were told to slaughter only one cow. Okay, one special cow, that is. And how do we know? So this is where the context comes in. Okay, so context elaborates it. For example, if if we say that al insanu, now it could mean some special human being, or it could also mean the entire human race. Okay, so this al here, it may allude to two things. Either it's going to be referring to just one individual, one special individual, or all the individuals in that species. Okay, so if I say an-nisa'u, it could either mean one special woman, all right, or a special group of women, or it could mean all the women in general. All right. Similarly, al-baqaratu, if it's standing, if it's if it's written all alone, then that is without any context. If it is just as it is, existing here right now, all alone by itself, then it could either mean one special cow, or it could mean all the cows. Okay, just as we have in English the young, or you see of how we say the young are quite susceptible to certain diseases. So what are we doing? We are we are attaching this the with an entire group. All right. So it is rather very obvious in English, because if I were to say, for example, the girls are wise. Okay. So in this sentence, if for the sake of argument, we could either mean that there's some special group of girls that's really wise, or it could mean that the girls are wiser. All right, but here, if we get into the English grammar, then we'll have to add er form to it. Okay, so in order to give it a more general meaning, so that's a totally different subject. Okay, so let's not get into that. But over here, if I'm saying al insanu, it could either mean one special human being or all of the humanity. As we know from Surah Al-Asr, Allah says that Innal insana lafi khusrin. So, indeed, the entire mankind, the entire human race is in loss. Okay, so how do I know that it's the entire human being? Because it's the context, all right? It's the context of that surah. That's what's telling me what this al insana means. Similarly, over here in Al Baqarah too, uh, of course, they wouldn't have been told to slaughter all the cows. So it has to be one cow, one special cow. So once again, rule number 8 was reference to an individual, okay, or the entire species as a whole, okay. So this is one of the unique things in Arabic language. There are two uses of al, and it's the context that elaborates, okay. Then next we have right. So next we have rule number 7, which says using ism alam with the. All right. What is an ism alam? Alam is the Arabic equivalent of a flag or a banner. Okay. And what do banners do? They are actually the identification of any place, person, whatever. Okay. So it's the ID. That's an alam. So, and what is the ID? That's actually your name. Okay. So, uh, you know how we did ism nakra in English? It's called common noun, and the proper nouns are the actual names of places and of people. So ism alam is the actual equivalent of proper names. I'm sorry, of proper nouns. Okay, so ism alam is the actual equivalent of proper nouns. Okay, and let's study the examples. So we have ism alam, which is banner. All right, so we have names such as Zaid, Fatma, then we have Makkah, Syria. So all these are proper names. Okay, and what are proper names? They are the identification, or in short, ism alam. Okay, now I just made a little comparison over here. A city. Okay, now this is a common noun or ism nakra. Then we have the city. Okay, so this is, since it's the, in English it's not proper noun, but it is definite noun. Okay, so this is definite noun, and then in Arabic it's called mu'arraf bil lam. All right, so we have al attached to it, and then or the country. It's okay, so it's not a country, the country. It is not ism alam, but actual names are ism alam. Okay, so therefore we never say things such as the Zed or the Makkah, all right, the Arabic, or all these things. We do not say that. However, there's a certain exception to it, and that is some ism alam in Arabic do get prefixed with al, and only Arabs get to make this decision because it's their language, so it's their rules. Okay, there is no grammatical importance or significance to it, or there is no specific, grammatical rule that this thing gets followed, but it's simply whatever Arab said. So if they wish, they can add, well, not all the Arabs, it's the linguists, okay, the people who devise the language, who we call the Ahle Zaban in Urdu, okay. So it's the pure Arab will, and by Arab I mean the Arab linguists, okay, not any Arab would do. So it's upon them, really, it's how they have decided. So their language, their rules, and this phrase, just remember this phrase, okay, because this is going to be used a bit too much when we are studying Arabic, inshallah, okay. So their language, their rules. And the first rule that we understand is that some ism alam in some asma alam in Arabic do get attached with al, okay. For example, okay, we have a room, okay, which is Romans, the room, and then we have al Hasan. Hasan here is the proper noun, or the ism alam, okay, and al is your al, okay, ism marfa. So this ism Hasan gets prefixed with al, which means that it gets more of lam, and this is purely out of Arab will. Okay, so Arum and then Al Hasan, these are the two examples of this point, that at times Ism Alam is usually not used with the, but at times it can be used, and that is totally up to the Arab predisposition, really. Okay, and now finally with the last rule. Okay, so what is it? Addition of kasra to the jar form of ghair munsarif asma. I would ask you to just forget about this terminology right now for some moments, okay? And we'll just link to this concept uh, according to the stuff that we already know, okay? So we'll build up on that. So first of all, we have Ism Nakra, which is singular over here, Masjidun, a place of prostration, of sajda. Okay, so masjidun, then masjidan, masjidin. All of these words mean a mosque. Mosque, all right. Then if we just convert it to ism marfa by making it more of lam, we'll have al masjidu, the mosque, al masjida, the mosque, al masjidi, the mosque. All right, we know it so far. Then we have the word masajidu, which is the plural of mosque. So this is mosques, okay. Masajidu, mosques. All right, now I'm not going to add any English article, because obviously is used for singular, of course, okay. So just by looking at it, I can see that there is no al, therefore this is some mosque, or any there isn't any exclusivity. I'm not talking about some special mosque, it's just the mosques, okay. Then similarly we have the nasab form masajida, then we have the jar form masajida, again masajidu, masajida, masajida. Now what was expected to be its jar form? It was expected to be masajidi, right? But it's not that way. It is masajida, and this kind of thing is observed in a particular group of Arabic asma, and that group is called ghair munsarif asma. A great deal regarding this group is coming up in the next lesson, inshallah. So we'll study the actual all the other relevant details in that chapter, inshallah. But over here, let's just stick to the concept that is necessary to understand this point of al. Okay, so masajidu, rafa form of mosques, then nasab form masajida. This is as expected. Also, this is also as expected. However, this masajida was supposed to be, or rather was expected to be masajidi, but it's not the case. It is masajida. Okay, so the nasab and jar forms in this group are identical. Okay, masajida, masajida. All right, now in relation with al, so if we add al to this masajidu, it becomes al masajidu. Of course, we don't need to worry about the na sound, the ending na sound, okay, because there isn't here. Okay, it isn't here to begin with. So al masajidu is the mosques, al masajida the mosques, al masajidi. Okay, so what happens is that if there is a nakra ghair munsarif asma, I'm sorry, if there is a nakra ghair munsarif ism, then the nasab and jar forms are going to be the same, all right, and the jar form is not going to have a zabar, is not going to have a kasra or a zir in it. However, when al is attached to that jar form, okay, as here, then it does accept this zir or kasra. Okay, so what was masajida becomes al masajidi when prefixed with al. Okay, so once again, just let's just wrap it up quickly. So we have the nakra form of this ghair munsarif ism, okay, which is masajidu. How do we know it is ghair munsarif? Arabs told us. Okay, there are certain structures that are ghair munsarif, and we just get familiar with them over time. Okay, so masajida is a nasab form, and masajida again is jar form. However, if I were to add this al and make it mu'arraf bil lam, then this jar form becomes al masajidi as expected. Okay, and similarly the remaining two forms remain the same. Okay, so al masajidu, al masajida, so that we have al masajidu, al masajida, and al masajidi. So the last point over here was addition of kasra to jar form. All right, addition of kasra to the jar form of ghair munsarif asma. So you have a ghair munsarif ism, and by default you're saying it masajidu, masajida, masajida. Add an al to it and you'll get al masajidi. That's the bottom line. Okay, so let's just do another example so that it's even clearer, inshallah. So we have for example, so we have akbaru, akbara, akbara. Okay, then it becomes, if we add um, if we make it mu'arraf bil lam, then it becomes oh, al akbar. Okay, al akbar, al akbaru is the rafa form, then al akbara is the jar form, I'm sorry, al akbara is the nasab form, and then al akbari is the jar form. And if I were to remove this al, then it would be akbaru, akbara, and akbara, not akbari. Okay, so we're going to study way more examples of this ghair munsarif ism, inshallah, in the days to come, and therefore you don't need to worry about it. Just remember one point, that a ghair munsarif ism does not accept uh, a zir or kasra in its jar form, but if we add an al to it, it does, like this. Okay, so that's the important point. Now let's just get to the list again. So there were 3 rules related to this al that we hadn't studied. So rule number 8, which was about the context, that tells us if the reference is being made about the entire species of the noun or the individual being. So we have done that. So if al-baqarah is written, or al-waladu, all right, then we have to see that if we have to look at the context, if it is referring to all the boys in general, or is it referring to one special boy. Okay, similarly we have rule number 7, which was adding al to the ism is not allowed unless the Arabs said so. So does add does not exist, because well, it doesn't, and it doesn't make any sense. But al hasanu or a room does exist because Arabs language and their rules. Okay, then the final rule was about adding the kasra or zair in the jar form of ghair munsarif asma when adding al. So we studied this. Okay, so if the word is masajidu, masajida, masajida, then it becomes al masajidu, al masajida, al masajidi. Okay, this was our rule number 3. So the next lesson would be about inshallah the ghair munsarif asma, the types of asma, and how we have this group. Okay, it would be an elaboration on this group inshallah. So uh, well, we'll get to that in the next lesson. And before that, as always, I'll request you and I'll insist that you keep on picking these points up during your recitation and practice as much as you can, because in Arabic it's the verbal practice that counts. Okay, so if you haven't yet started practicing with the rafa nasab and jar forms in marfa and nakra statuses, then I would really insist and encourage you to start doing that, so that things get easier for you. Because once you get hold of this rafa nasab jar thing, it the entire Arabic is within your reach. It becomes really easy once you have this rafa nasab jar thing. Okay, and uh, other further implications of this thing. So inshallah, we'll meet in the next lesson with more elaboration regarding the ghair munsarif asma and other two groups of noun. And till that time, inshallah, barakallahu li wa lakum fil Quran al Hakim, and I'll see you then, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.